Hello, and welcome to my review of the Dominator HP6 exhaust, or slip-on exhaust rather, for the BMW R1250 RS. This video is not sponsored. Dominator does not have any kind of relationship, business or otherwise, with me. I purchased this slip-on exhaust with my own money, just like any of their other customers would. This video might run long because I want to try to deep dive into this product. So if you're looking for something very specific about the HP6, I'll leave timestamps down below. So why did I make this video? I do love my R1250 RS. It's got good torque, very comfortable to ride, especially compared to my previous ones, and it handles relatively well. However, I do wear earplugs when I ride, especially for longer ones, and I can't really hear anything from the bike when I wear earplugs. So I thought I would just replace the exhaust on the bike. Now, I've been wanting to do this for a few months now. However, research has proven quite difficult. I'm sure you can tell, most people who own this bike would recommend the Errata or the Remus, and I'm sure those are great products, but all I really wanted from the slip-on is to be able to hear the bike when I'm riding. So it seems wasteful almost to spend over $700 for something relatively simple. There's just not a whole lot of content about the R1250 RS. Most content when you search with the term R1250 seems to bring up the GS or the R instead, even if you were to include the term RS. I suppose the RS is just this forgotten middle child in the BMW Boxer lineup. And if you thought the videos of R1250 RSs were relatively rare, it's actually even more difficult to find videos about the Dominator HP6 for the R1250 RS. Most videos that I could find were of the bike being stationary and someone's just over there revving, which is fine if all you really want to know is what the bike sounds like at a stoplight. I could only find one single video of the Dominator exhaust on an RS with the bike moving, but I did want to know more, like what it's like to buy from Dominator, how they ship their products, what the HP6 is like to ride with, to live with, what it sounds like under load, etc., etc., etc.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
If you can't tell already, I'm not a professional at YouTube. This is actually the first time I'm ever doing this. Who knows, maybe it's the last time. Depends on how this video does. In any case. So who are Dominator? I generally like knowing who I'm buying stuff from. So I did what research I could into Dominator, the company. There's not much, but from what I gather, Dominator is located in Konia, Poland. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's probably wrong. And exhausts seem to be their sole bread and butter. They're very proud of the fact that everything they sell is made in Poland using stainless steel that they import from Italy. They were founded in 2010, and for some reason they have a lot of black Volkswagen Golfs in their parking lot. I don't have any idea why. And they also seem to have had a race team some time back. But that's really all I could find about them. Dominator's official website is in Polish, but they do have an English version as well. I'll put the links down below. At the time of ordering, April 19th, the slip-on cost me $335 with an additional $40 in shipping. I will say that the purchasing experience is a little bit sketchy, where you go place an order and then it takes you to a totally different website to accept payment with. To add more to the sketch factor, I placed my order, made my payment, and then waited. Turns out, even though their website explicitly says dispatch in 3 days, it just is not true. All right. So I placed my order on April 19th with payment made on the same day. I didn't receive a single peep from Dominator until April 25th, when I thought I'd reach out after 5 whole business days of silence. To their credit, they did reply rather quickly within 24 hours, although their reply to me said, actually, there is a five-day wait for processing orders. So they finally gave me a tracking number, and I thought things were finally moving. But then the order sat. Turns out that the tracking number that they gave me was only for the label that has been created. FedEx hadn't actually received the package yet. The package did not end up leaving Poland for another additional 5 days. Once it did get moving though, it was at my door by May 5th. So in total, the from ordering to delivery, it took 2 weeks and 2 days for the shipment to arrive. I don't know if that's good or bad, but really the difference in information on their actual website and what their staff told me certainly left me feeling a little bit more sketched out than usual when ordering aftermarket parts. To add even more sketchiness on top of all of this, all their email correspondence with me came with a nice possible phishing attempt warning from Proton Mail. But whatever, they're an exhaust company. I don't really expect the greatest IT from them. So overall, a somewhat sketchy ordering experience, but I suppose their customer service is rather quick to respond. All right, let's get straight to unboxing then. I gotta clean up my workbench. See you there. All right, folks, let's get straight into the unboxing. I haven't opened this yet since I wanted to show you exactly what you would get if you were to just order this exhaust by yourself. The only thing I did modify or touch on this box was removing the shipping label because that has my name and home address on it, and I'd rather not show that off to the entire internet. So first things first, let's put on some gloves. Gloves are on. Now, why would I put on gloves to unbox an exhaust? It's just something I learned from back when I owned a Ducati Street Fighter. And if you were to touch the exhaust with your bare hands, the oils on your fingers would get on the exhaust, and the oils that you leave behind will leave discoloration on your exhaust. Now, this is a really cheap exhaust. I'm not expecting too much here. I did pay less than half what other manufacturers would have charged me. I'm not expecting a product made by hermit craftsmen of the Carpathian Mountains, let's say. I am, however, expecting it to be decent. So let's see what decent looks like. First thing you see is foam, I guess. So that's trash, I'm guessing. More trash. And then the exhaust itself. Interesting. There's a little baggie in here with one single solitary nut. Let's put that over there, and then try to unwrap this. You know what? I'm just gonna take the whole thing out. Yep, there's nothing left in there. Oh, it's very light, I will say. Incredibly light. I was expecting this thing to be rather hefty, but actually I could just hold it with one hand like that. And yeah, so in any case, decently packaged, I would say. It's not exactly well organized, but You know, that's a lot of bubble wrap. Let's get rid of that. And then I'm gonna bring this piece of foam back in just as something to lay the exhaust on. That is the Dominator HP6 exhaust in all its glory. I don't see many components besides that one single solitary nut. I've yet to figure out what that nut is for. It does, I'm hoping you can see here, it does come with DB killers already installed. And it also looks like instead of welding it in, the DB killers are actually fastened, which means we can remove it. I don't see major flaws with the carbon fiber. I'm not expecting, you know, like I said, I'm not expecting like some kind of master crafted product here, but it should at least be delivered in one piece. No horrible welds are visible. Well, besides that, I guess. But that's a small thing, considering that I only paid less than $400 for this. Okay. Now, one thing that's interesting, I think, is the fact that this is a straight through design. There's no baffles where, you know, the exhaust doesn't have a direct exit to the atmosphere. And that's it. A very simple product, not many components to this. Time to install. Okay, so that's a T40. These are T25s. Just for this install, I did find a pretty cool tool. This adapts your ratchet wrench to a 1/4" hex. I'll leave a link down below if you want to get one. The way this tool works, right, so you've got your regular ratchet wrench here. You've got this tool. You can put in any like 1/4" hex bit you want. It's a quick release, so you just pull down the collar and it locks in. So you just remove this bolt. You know what? That's taking too long. And when it comes out, should be 2 pieces here. Just make sure you don't lose anything. The one that comes from inside is shorter. It's not as long as the first bolt that I took out. Just so y'all can see what I'm removing here. So this is the stock exhaust. That's the first bolt that I removed that was longer. Then there is a second bolt inside here. Yep, that one. That's the shorter one. And now I'm removing the one back here. Now, this one's a little trickier to get into. You can't just power tool your way in. You just kind of have to do it with ratchet. All right, and there's the third bolt. Once that's done, this should be able to be freed. Remove that black plastic shroud. Gives you access to the clamp for the actual exhaust. So this nut here is a 14mm. Once this band is loose, you don't have to like remove the entire nut. It just needs to come loose so you can remove the stock exhaust. So the T40 is that guy right there. I'm gonna keep one hand here to support it. And that's out. It seems like the exhaust is hanging on its own, which is good. It's stuck on there pretty good. There's the stock exhaust. And to put on the new exhaust. This is so much lighter. Yeah, I'm just holding it with one hand. It's so light. Don't forget to put your band back on. Okay. Then slot it in. Just wiggle it back on. Remember that little baggie with a nut on it? This nut goes in the back here because their exhaust is not threaded, whereas the stock one is. The Dominator does not have such a thing. I generally like to start, like hand start it, just to make sure. Just a wild guess that this is a 14 millimeter. Yep, it is. So once that's on, your exhaust should be able to support itself. You don't need to keep holding it or worry that it'll fall off. Next part is to just tighten this band here. Okay, nice and tight. And then we put this black plastic back on. Just kind of have to like shimmy it back in and try to get that hole right here to match up with that threaded hole right there. All right, there it is. Now it matches. This hole here also matches with that. I'll just start it by hand. Where is that hole again? There it is. Once again, start it by hand. Okay. Once they're all started by hand, we can put them in the rest of the way. All right, since this is just a shroud or a cover, I don't feel that this needs to be torqued down to any specific specifications. I'm just gonna do it till it's hand tight. Alright, so this is how you remove the DB killers. There is a hex nut, as you can see right there. What you need is a 3 millimeter hex key. It must be a ball end. If it's a straight end, it won't go in there because your key is going to be blocked by that lip right there. It's a little bit tricky to do, not much space to move, but it'll work. Make sure you're not using a super long hex key, because if it's too long, what's going to happen is your key is going to get blocked by that upper lip of the exhaust. Once you've loosened it, you can actually just take it out the rest of the way with your fingers. Just be careful not to drop the screw and the lock washer into the exhaust itself. Grab yourself something to hold on to the lip with. And there you go. That's the DB color out. That's what it looks like after install. Definitely much smaller. I believe the community calls this a chrome cannon. All right, see how large the original exhaust is compared to the new one. I'm actually going to give it one final wipe down. This is just 99% isopropyl alcohol because I saw some fingerprints on there, even though I was wearing gloves, especially any exposed metal bits. Because if it does this color, I'd like it to discolor evenly. Install's complete. It took me about 15 minutes in total. Not too bad. Time to see how it sounds. Okay, closing thoughts. By now I've spent at least a couple of hours riding with this slip-on, and yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. Let's start with the upsides. Well, first, it's extremely competitively priced at less than $400. Despite this low price, the product didn't really compromise on much. The construction was good, quality, I couldn't find any parts of it that showed that it was cheaply made or anything like that. It's pretty well built. The welds on the slip-on look good, which tells me that Dominator actually cares about the quality of their product, which is positive. Big plus for me here is that the DB killers, they're very easy to remove. I can reinstall them as I need them. Other manufacturers like Krakovich have started spot welding their DB killers into the pipe itself, which makes removal more involved than is necessary, I feel. The slip-on can is smaller than many of its competitors. The can is also significantly smaller than the stock can. If you're older like me, you would remember motorcycles having, much smaller cans than they come with today. I get the sense that the size of these cans are increasing in order to comply with Euro 5. The small size also means that it works well with the factory OEM panniers. I have them mounted on here just to show you. There's very good clearance. Finally, I also think it happens to look good and it sounds good, especially with the DB killers left in, not out. You probably heard it in the sound section of this video. It sounds raspier with the DB killers in. Once you take them out, there's this booming bass frequency that comes out, and that kind of hides a lot of the individual notes of the exhaust. Now, onto the downside. The ordering and shipping experience was a little sketchier than it had to be. I think the Dominator as a company needs to improve in this area. Otherwise, the product itself is great. It's just really the buying experience behind it isn't so great. Secondly, the box did not come with the manual, and I do mean the paper manual. I know a lot of manufacturers these days, they tend to tell you go to their website. I get that a paper manual would have cost Dominator extra money, but I would have paid a whole $1 more if they had just included a manual in the box. Installation, as you had seen in this video, was quite straightforward at the end of the day. Nonetheless, I wish they had a manual. So, in conclusion, if all you care about is sound when purchasing this product, and you're not under some kind of a delusion that you're building a world-beating motorcycle in terms of horsepower, considering the slip-on's price, fit and finish, appearance, this slip-on is quite difficult to beat, I feel. And that's it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. As I mentioned earlier, this is my first time doing anything like this. I'm doing it more out of frustration with the lack of information out there. So I try my best to focus this video on the user experience rather than simply trying to make something that is entertaining for the viewers. Making this video was a lot of effort. There's a lot more work that goes into YouTube videos than I had certainly expected. That said, I certainly enjoyed myself. If this video does well, I might keep doing it. Now, if you have any questions at all, or if you have feedback for me on how to make these videos more useful to you, please leave a comment down below. Thank you, and subscribe if you feel like it. See you around.